guys, welcome back to Any Sooner. As always, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Join the family. We're always excited to have you guys. All right, welcome back to the Indy Sooners. Your boy JP. We are blessed to be here today with somebody who's basically like an uncle to me. Know me since I was born. I was one of my dad's best friends. He's probably laughing because when I said that, he probably felt old, but he's not that old, I promise. But no, name is Byron. He's been a scout for the last 18 years?
23.
23. I was 5 off.
Yeah.
23 years for the Colts, and so he's blessed us today with his presence, and he's going to kind of help us go along with some of the Oklahoma draft products out of this last year's team, just what we can expect to see on draft day. We're going to be able to get some insider info, some scouting analysis that we may not be able to get many other places. Like I said, he's been in it 23 years, and so really excited to have him on. And I won't talk any longer because we'll get to the real stuff. But Byron, thanks for being on the Indy Sooner today.
Anytime. Like I said, I've known you since you were like 2. I met you in 97. That's crazy. So this is to watch you come from a little kid to where you are now. It's just, I do feel old, and I am old. But it's crazy now that you've got your own podcast and you're doing your thing. It's just, I'm old.
No, not at all. Will you, real quick before we dive in, I know I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but do you want to dive in just a little bit to
Okay.
your experience, maybe how you got into the scouting game in the NFL, what your experience has been over your 23 years, just whatever you'd like to do to introduce yourself.
I said I started in 1997. My uncle actually worked for the Colts in Baltimore, so he came over on the Mayflower. So that's how long he's been in it. So he got me an interview. He thought I would be good at it. I would pepper him with questions when I was in college about the Sooners that he was coming to look at. Also, I played high school with a bunch of guys that you may have heard of. Will Shields was his high school teammate, James Trapp, Dwell Brewer. They all played in the league. Mike Minner was 2 years younger than I was. Daryl Gardner was a year younger. Martin Chase, he's 3 years younger, but I've known him since he was like 5. Just Jason Rouser, who's an Olympian in track, lived around the street. So I know all kind of athletes. I know what they look like, and that's basically what the job is. So I got a chance in 97. They basically said, you have everything from Oklahoma West. They gave me a stack of plane tickets. That's going way back because you actually had physical tickets. And they were like, here you go, have at it, and we'll see you in December. So that's how I started. It just grew and learned, and up until last year, I was with the Colts. So, good, bad. My first draft was when we drafted Peyton. So I've seen, all the drafts since then. So that's basically it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Byron did mention he was a big reason that I got to see a lot of the Peyton Manning years. Him and my dad kind of hooked up, and I got to go to every home game from 2002 to 2012. So I mean, all the great years, and obviously the one absolutely terrible year with Curtis Painter. But every year besides that was amazing, and just to be able to grow up, and not a lot of people get to see a Hall of Fame quarterback that much, and just to see Peyton operating every Sunday, what he did with Marvin, Reggie, Dallas Clark. I remember vividly when we were still when the Colts used to practice at Rolls-Holman. I remember my dad took me out there with you. I remember vividly me and you talking to Marcus Pollard. I think that was like 03, 04 for a while, but that was a really, really cool experience for me growing up. So so we'll just dive right into it, Byron. I'll just ask you basically about a specific player. You can give your honest opinion and analysis on that player. OU fans, I'm gonna let you know right now. Even though obviously both of us are OU fans, I wouldn't say either of us are homers, and especially coming from Byron's side, he's going to be giving his complete scouting analysis. So don't get mad if he don't like y'all's favorite player, because it don't always end up that way. We like to see certain things as fans that maybe if you're looking at it from a scout's point of view, then it may not look as good as you think. So just
Correct.
let's
And
go to it with open mind.
being interesting being an OU alum and scouting, you would think that I'm always pro OU guys, and I take it easy on them. Is actually the opposite,
Yeah,
because I see them so much. I've seen them since they were freshmen, and so. But yeah, OU didn't never pay my salary, so I don't cut them any slack. I was a Colt, and that's who I was paid by Jim Irsay to come back with info. So they got nothing, no special treatment.
that's true. That's true. All right, so we will start with probably the biggest name out of this draft class for OU. Somebody who you and I have talked about extensively before, Creed Humphrey. And so just go ahead and give us your opinion on Creed, maybe what your analysis is on him, maybe where you think he'll go. You can give your opinion on where maybe he should go, and then maybe where you think he will go, whatever you'd like.
I think he'll go like second, third round. There was a guy from Michigan last year that went around the second round. They're kind of similar players. He went to New Orleans. Both very physical, strong guys in their upper body. Little stiff in the lowers, need some work with on their technique in that regard. Very aggressive, very smart. He was up and down I guess that would be his sophomore year. He was a little more consistent this year. I definitely think he's going to eventually be a starter in the league, can possibly be a guard if you want him to. He's going to do everything the right way. The coach at Oklahoma he's a very good coach. He makes sure they know the playbook. He makes sure they can learn on the blackboard. They can draw it up. When they get in front of coaches, they can talk ball. They know X's and O's. They know concepts. So he does a real good job with that. So I think he's a plug and play guy. He'll play for 10 years, and you probably will never hear his name. He's always going to be where he's supposed to be, doing the right things. He'll be a solid NFL player.
Yeah, and I would agree. Obviously, I think most OU fans love Creed, and obviously grew up in Shawnee and just a homegrown product, right? And so many people talk about, last year. I'll kind of introduce you to this kind of conversation that's been happening on Oklahoma Twitter the last couple of years, Byron. But there's been do you know who RJ Young is?
Yes, we actually talked to him pretty much a lot. I talked to RJ a lot. He's a good
Oh,
dude.
okay, I didn't know that. That's cool. So
I had to get you two together too. I have to get you in touch with him.
I would love that.
I will.
RJ is honestly the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now. Like seeing his grind from following him in 2017 to where he was and what he did. And again, like I was like, not that I felt like I could do better than him because he's amazing, and I can't put that much time into it because I'm an AD. Like I don't have that much time. But like I've talked about. I mean, you know me my whole life. I like to talk stats and all that stuff and really dive deep into things. And so I said, you know what, I like doing this. Why don't I, actually flesh it out? I made a Twitter. That's going okay. I have almost 2,000 followers on there. And so I said, hey, like, would you guys follow me if I did a YouTube channel? Because I made a couple videos mainly about Texas fans and how inept they can be, but we'll save that for another day.
Right.
But yeah, they just said, hey, we would listen to it. And so, anyways, long story short, RJ is a big reason why I thought even about making videos, making a platform on Twitter and stuff like that. So he's a great guy. Yeah, awesome. But yeah, so anyways, getting back to what I was saying, RJ has had this take forever that we need to OU needs to stop letting kids get out of state. And obviously, like you can say, obviously the 5 stars like Dax Hill or whoever else. But then he even goes down to like 3 stars that we should be recruiting some of these 3 stars from some of these smaller programs, or even if it's not smaller programs, he's a big Tulsa dude. Anywhere at Tulsa, whether it's Jinx, Booker T, Union, anywhere out of there, he's going to be repping. But anyways, his big spiel was, you know, Georgia and LSU and all these other cats, like they get their in-state kids and they're rolling. And the big argument was, well, Oklahoma doesn't produce the same amount of talent that Georgia and Louisiana produce. So like while some people understood that, they also said if we just relied on OU kids, or Oklahoma kids, we may not be as big of a program as
Right.
we are. You know what I mean?
Right. And the thing is, I mean, Oklahoma, just the state where it is, it's not, you can't rely just on Oklahoma. That's why you see that, especially with Lincoln, they're going to California, they're going to Florida, they're going to Georgia, they're going to different places they usually haven't been. Vegas, they're getting kids from there to supplement the kids that are in Oklahoma that we usually get, like the really great class of OU guys was Gresham, Ardmore, Sam Bradford, who was a 2 or 3 star out of PC North, and then Gerald McCoy, but how often does that happen where Oklahoma produces 3 top 10 picks?
Yeah, right.
So they have to go to Texas. They have to rely on that stuff. And I think this new staff is trying to get into Tulsa, where generally we haven't, for whatever the reason, we don't get the Booker T kids, the Woods brothers, they were Millwood, but, it's, R.W. McQuarters and all of those Booker T guys, for whatever the reason, them Tulsa guys go to Oklahoma State. So I think they're trying to get back, but Oklahoma will never be able to sustain the state of Oklahoma will never be able to sustain Oklahoma football by itself. They're always going to have to go to, get help. So that's the one thing, this new staff, they're excellent about recruiting, from the recruiting coordinators to the ops guys, the digital media. I mean, the edits they put out and all of the stuff they do that way, the logos and all of that stuff, they're on fire with that stuff. And that's the reason you've seen the classes that the young classes that are really good since Lincoln's been there. So, he definitely took the torch from Bob and took it to a new level.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But yeah, I mean, that's why so many Oklahoma fans fell in love with Creeds, because he's a local product. And like I said, going off of that, we need Oklahoma guys. And yeah, sometimes, when you get a kid from Oklahoma, it does mean more to them. Like to Creed, it meant everything for him to play for the flagship university. I mean, I know I've been reading a lot about the Ethan Downs. Like he's another one that a lot of people feel like could do some good things, but even more than just his talent. He grew up an Oklahoma kid, like, and wanted to be at OU, and has just talked about how he just is having so much fun being there, and the practices, like he doesn't even see as, obviously they're hard and crazy, but like he just is having such a good time because it's all he dreamt about. I feel like you saw that with Creed, and again, obviously his talent showed too, but more than that, I think just the way he did things and the leader he was for Oklahoma, like you said, he's going to be the guy that does right things in the NFL. So, I couldn't agree more with you. Obviously, looking forward to see what happens with him. I know I've seen some, not a ton, but some people think he could sneak into the first round. I don't know about that one either, but it's yet to be seen.
Just the way I grew up, center, that's take a center in the first round. It was a stretch for us, just the way we were taught. Left tackles go high. The rest of them, you can wait. Tackles always go first. And so just going back to taking Quentin, that was kind of the holdback in the scouting meetings. We're like, oh, he's a guard though. But we talked it through, and, the GM was dug in, this guy will change our whole entire program. And he did. So sometimes you being the outlier, you could be right. So, but generally, it'd be hard for me if I were a GM to take a center that high.
Yeah, I get that. Well, moving on to we'll stay on the offensive line. Obviously, we talked about tackles. One tackle that we have coming out, obviously, is Adrian Ely. I know that's somebody that personally, for me, I thought maybe could have used another year of development, but at the same time, I think he had a pretty decent year from my eyes last year. But I'd be interested to hear what you thought about Adrian and what you think maybe where he'll go. And yeah,
I thought he struggled a little early. It was just the whole. I thought the whole offensive line kind of was not what we're used to seeing early in the year, and I think you saw that the second half of Kansas State and Iowa State. They got to the quarterback in both of those games late, where you're just not used to seeing that from Oklahoma offensive line. I think as they gelled and got better as it went. I think he'll be a mid to late round guy. I don't think he'll go real early.
right.
More of a right tackle in the league. I don't know that he'll transition to being a left. Could possibly be a guard. But I see like anywhere from 3 to 5. Not going to be a high guy, but could have stayed. But I'll never fault a kid for leaving. You're playing football for free.
Yeah.
Especially in a pandemic,
Sure.
even if you don't get drafted as high as you want, if you get drafted, you sign, you make a roster, that's way more money than you be making in college. So me personally, I don't ever fault kids for wanting to leave and go ahead and get started with life. So I think he has upside. I don't think there's a lack of talent, some technique stuff he needs to clean up, but I think he'll be a backup for a year or so. And then year 2, year 3, he'll be competing to be a starter.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I can dig that and agree with that. Like I said, I thought he could have maybe stayed another year, but like you said, I'm not gonna fault the kid for leaving. I'm gonna put in a plug for all the young tackles out there. If you wanna make some money in the league and be a tackle, go to Oklahoma. Okay, Lane Johnson, Orlando Brown, Trent Williams, Cody Ford. I think Bobby Evans was starting to play a lot of Rams last year.
O-line you, baby.
I'm putting a plug in there. Obviously,
Absolutely.
everybody tripped Byron over Tristan Lay going to Clemson, and here's what I said about it. I think from what I understand, the people I talked to, he really had it was a really big family thing. Like he had an uncle that lives in Atlanta that's close. And for me, that's what I told people. I said, like, you guys can't underestimate what family does for some kids. Because
Right.
to me, I think obviously you would rather go to Oklahoma than Clemson if you're going to want to get to the league on offensive line. And nothing against Clemson. Obviously, they've been a great program the last couple of years. But if we're talking about specifically offensive line play, they don't hold a candle. So I just said I can't truly believe if he wanted to be like if he truly wanted to get to the league based off of offensive line play and play for a coach like that, then he would have been with Beating Bug. But I think it was more than that, in my opinion. So
It always is. I mean, can't win them all. So, you just worry about the ones you get. And I have a saying, don't worry about the leaves on the ground, worry about the leaves in the tree. So we wish him well, and hopefully we'll get to play against him and we'll come out on top this time.
you're whooping, man, exactly. All right. We will move to the defensive side of the ball real quick. We'll talk about some of the defensive backs. So another one, I'll just go off of this one too. I thought should have stayed was Trey Norwood. I like Trey a lot. He had obviously. I said this on I think the defensive back preview I did a couple weeks ago. I think Trey Norwood, at least statistically, had the best season that defensive back for OU has had since Zach Sanchez in 2015. Because obviously we know since then OU hasn't really had great defensive back play, at least statistically, and obviously optically for a lot of people. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Trey Norwood and where he might go?
I think he should another one that could have used another year to actually learn how to play safety, because I know a lot of people think that it's you're in the secondary, it doesn't matter, but it's actually a totally different technique playing safety than it is corner. So there's different angles, you're playing in more space a lot. You're a run supporter, so you got to tackle, you got to hit. You got to know your run fits, all of that stuff. I thought he got a lot better as the season went. I thought he was very pivotal to the defensive success. The way he played the ball, he's a bigger guy, so tight ends didn't match up on him. But I thought he could have used some more seasoning. He's going to have to make it on special teams in the league. You need to show that. I think he'll be a later round guy. I think he'll be like 5 to possibly a PFA. Like I said, he showed some good things on tape, but you couple inexperience, the pro day, all of that stuff matters. So,
I mean, hey, it's a step up from. It's sad to say that, but it's a step up from, the last couple of years at defensive back. We haven't really had people drafted, so even the fifth round, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I could definitely see him. Like I said, he was tough enough, and you could tell he's smart and instinctive.
Yeah.
Which always plays well. He's played corner, so he's got, he offered you some flexibility and coverage. So it's definitely an upside there, definitely. But like you said, coming out early, not playing the position very long, and then having a bad pro day, that's not ideal.
Yeah, it's true. Gotcha. Well, next we'll bring up Trey Brown, the other Trey of the Trey and Trey duo that hopped on the scene in 2017, got thrown in the fire because Parnell Motley and Jordan Thomas couldn't hold water back there. So what do you think about Trey Brown?
Trey Brown, I think, number one, he's one of the best special teamers that I saw. Like, he pops on tape on special teams. He covers kicks. He's a good gunner. And those guys are invaluable. That gives you a leg up on a lot of people. I thought he actually played the ball much better than he ever had in his career. I thought he stepped up big time his senior year. He was around the ball. He made plays on the ball. He took the ball away. Those are all things you want to see, especially from a smaller DB. They have to be ball hawks. He's got some things to work on technique-wise and tackling-wise. He's got to get a little firmer in that regard, but he's got a lot of upside too. He's got one of the things you can't coach is speed. You see he's fast. He can run. And like I said, just the special teams, the temperament to play special teams, and then how he stepped up as a corner. He's definitely a guy who moved up, with his play during the year. Yeah. He'll be a mid-round guy also. Anywhere from 3 to 5. But being a special teams guy, those guys play forever because the special teams coaches love them. So a guy that needs some development that can play special teams and be an impact teams guy, he'll get a bump over somebody who doesn't. And, when you get to your like 3rd, 4th, and 5th corners, that's vital for, they got to play teams. And this guy's done it.
For sure.
And he does it well. I mean, he's just not out there running. I mean, he makes plays as a special teams guy. As a scout, that's one of the things. When you see a guy like that, you definitely make a note, to tell your special teams coaches, like, hey, I got a guy at Oklahoma. He's developmental as a corner. He's got a lot of upside as a corner, but we can get him on the field now on special teams. So that's huge too, because a lot of the discussions around the draft is how do we get them to 46? Everybody knows 53 make it, but you only dress 46. Yeah. So that goes into it. If you got a corner that you may not dress because he can't play special teams versus a guy who can, that guy gets the bump. You want, okay, well, this guy gets an edge over that guy because he can play special teams and we think he'll be good at it. So that's very important.
We'll move back over to the offensive side of the ball. Another guy that I don't think anybody thought should have stayed. And I think a lot of people understood why he left, but obviously would have loved to have him back. And that's from Andre Stevenson. I think obviously, that a lot of people think that this is OU's year to kind of take off and actually seriously compete for a national title. Obviously, we were competing on one leg the last really 4 times. 2015 we had a pretty good defense, a decent defense at the very least. But then the other times we made the playoff.
Yeah, we still can't talk about the Georgia game.
Yeah,
We
don't
can't.
even bring that up.
That was as a scout, that was the worst because we're in the meetings, and so they'll ask what's a guy's best game, and it was always Oklahoma, and then I would get looked at like, why are we always looking at your defense? So it was just like, oh, this is terrible.
I remember texting you during the game, and I said, I think I asked Byron. I said, are they packing Mike Stoops bags yet? Are they packing them for him or not?
Oh man,
Because go ahead.
yeah. I've never seen a team run themselves back into a football game like that. Like you want them to run and chew up the clock, and they were running and averaging like 12, 14 yards a pop. It was.
And there are still people to this day that will blame the offense for why we lost that game. And here's what I will say: like, yeah, there were some like there were drives that could have gone longer. We could have scored maybe more in the second half. But Georgia was a really good defense. Like they adjusted.
There you go.
That happens. But
yes.
like you said, you cannot. How can you allow after we scored like within 2 plays a 70-yard run to just negate everything you just did?
Yeah.
Like that's
with a freshman quarterback. With a freshman quarterback
who is what, a practice squad quarterback right now for the Bills? Is that where he's at? I mean,
I'm still hurt, dog. I'm still hurt.
Should have been a natty.
That was bad.
Should have been a natty that year, but
right.
Anyways, yeah, but we're gearing up, right? And I think a lot of people thought, if Ramondre came back, like, people think that for sure, anyways now. But if Ramondre came back, man, with him and Kennedy back, and obviously I think Eric Gray may be able to answer some of those questions. I think a lot of people obviously like what they saw from him in the spring game. But Ramondre had a good year last year when he was able to finally come back from that suspension. Obviously, he gave Oklahoma a whole nother element on offense that we were missing in the running game. All respect to T.J. Pledger. All respect to Marcus Major. And out of respect for the situation going on, I won't say the other dude's name because
he's gone. I don't even think he's there anymore. But
yeah,
Ramondre is what he is. I mean, it's not, you can't dress it up. He's a big, pounding, physical back. He's kind of in the James Conner mode. Pittsburgh uses those guys. They just want to hammer. And, a team like that, he'll have a little bit more value. Obviously, the pro day doesn't help.
Yeah.
He got in better shape. So, that's good. But he is what he is. He's just a physical pounder. And you give him the ball 10, 15 times, short yardage, and he's just going to hit you in the face. And you're going to keep coming. I hated to see him go because he just brought a totally different element to our offense. I think that was missing earlier in the season. We may not lose to Iowa State and Kansas State if that kid is running the ball because he's just going to – they're like, we're going to line up, Oklahoma's going to run their counter, and we're just coming downhill. Yeah. We may run a little inside zone or a trap, but counter left, counter right, deal with it. And that's kind of his attitude. He brought that. Now, I am a Major fan. I like that kid. I think he's going to be really good, really good. I like what I saw from him starting in the Texas game, the bowl game. The backfield is going to be loaded next year. They are loaded. And with the guys we got coming back on the offensive line and the receivers, they should be rolling. But yeah, I'm a big Marcus Major fan.
Just loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and obviously we'll finish on Ramondre, but I said in my spring game reaction video, I like Kennedy a lot. I think that he's very good at a lot of things. I don't think he's elite at something, in my opinion. If you want to say he's elite at anything, you could say he's elite at meshing with his offensive line, meshing with the scheme, being able to see holes or whatnot like that. But like the move, and I know it's just a spring game, I knew, but the move that Eric Gray put on Jordan Mute, did you watch the spring game?
I saw that play.
Yeah,
I did see that.
I said Kennedy does not have that in his bag. Like, and there's no disrespect to him. I can't do that, but I'm just saying, like that's just not in Kennedy's bag, and that's okay. But Eric
Right.
just brings something different. Like, that's different. That
Right.
movie.
No doubt. No doubt. And there's room for all of them. That's the good thing. Oklahoma does a good job of rotating whichever guy is hot. They rode Ramondre early in the Cotton Bowl. Major got hot late. They fed him, and they fed McGowan. I mean, they do a good job of getting guys touches. A lot of people think that Oklahoma's offense is a spread, throw it all over the place. They're really not. The foundation of their offense is a run game. It's power run game, play action off it. And, that's what they are.
Yep.
They are physical, nasty. They just want to get their hands on you. They want to hurt you. So, that starts with the guys up front. Like I said earlier, Coach Beatonbaugh does a good job of teaching finish. They block to the whistle. Every play they play hard. That's rare in college that you get 5 guys that play that way. And it started with Orlando, and when Creed was a baby, he had all those powers and Cody Ford, and I can't forget the other guard. But yeah, Samia. I mean, all those guys played like that. So that's all he knows. So when it's his turn to be in front, that's how they play now. So all of that, it just carries over. And like I said, it starts with Beanbo. He done a great job with those guys. So next year should be exciting. With a full spring, full off season, full non-conference, and then we should hit the ground running.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Last but certainly, I don't think anybody would say least, is Ronnie Perkins. And he's a guy a lot of people think could be one of the biggest risers in the draft. I've seen a lot of articles about him, and I think that had he not been suspended the first 6 games of the year, potentially he could have put on more tape that maybe would have had him go earlier. And obviously, I'd like to hear your opinion on that and maybe what you think of Ronnie.
I agree with that. He's another guy that brought physicality and energy when he came. That dude flew around everywhere. I thought the thing that he improved most on is how he played the run. I mean, this dude was physical. I think he'll go 3rd roundish. He reminds me a lot of Jordan Willis that played at Kansas State a few years back. He's that type of rusher. It's not a true speed rusher like we're used to in Indy with Freeney and Mathis. He's not that. He does have get off. He has quickness, but he's got power, a little bit more power, and he's just aggressive and tough. I think he'll be like 3rd roundish type guy. I really like his energy and his leadership. Like, you could tell when this dude came in the game, he just lifted everybody's energy. That's what you want to see too, especially out of a senior or your upperclassmen. You want to see them bring other people with them. I thought he did a really good job of doing that. He'll have to go to the right system. I can see him, Baltimore. Not teams that use like true speed edge rushers. Maybe not. He's not a great fit, but he's definitely he can be a starter. He'll probably start in a sub package, nickel rusher, and then work his way into starting. But I don't see any reason that he can't be a starter in year 2 and contribute a lot as a rookie.
Yeah.
Like I said, he definitely lifted the level of the defense when he came in.
Yeah. I vividly remember, man. Obviously, when he first got back in Texas Tech, and he was a little rusty, but Oklahoma State, he was.
And that was a really good tackle he was going against.
Yeah, and he was man possessed. Like, I'll never forget.
Jenkins is a good player. Yeah,
I will never forget. Not only obviously the play where he literally basically knocked Spencer Sanders out the game by just dragging him down, but I'm talking about the play. I think it was the first possession of the game, where he came off the edge. I think he had dude's arms and he just threw him off. And then he was in Spencer's face, and Spencer had to get rid of it. And Ronnie took his face and was like and was just standing over him. And I was like, we had like that mentality has been missing OU defense for a long time. Yes. And that's why so many fans loved him. And honestly, obviously wanted him to come back. And it's crazy to say that even now, the OU defensive line has the potential to be even better than they were last year, even though Ronnie may not even be back. And that is insane in
Yeah,
itself. I can't imagine
yeah.
if he came,
Definitely deep.
but
Definitely deep. You know, looking at different highlight packages from Big 12 schools on ESPN and stuff, I don't see Oklahoma's defense on there as much. So that tells you that they got it going in the right direction. You know, they year two, everybody's bought in. They kind of know the calls. They're not thinking as much, and they definitely play faster. Like I said, he impressed me with his energy and just his tenacity. I mean, he was a dog. So that was fun to see. You definitely like to see that out of a defensive guy.
okay. So who would you say are maybe your top three sleepers in the draft, and people that
Three
just in
sleepers.
general don't have to be from OU,
Oh
obviously,
man,
but
I
just
gotta come up with three.
or a couple. If you don't have three, that's
Okay,
okay. Two,
I
one.
like the little Rondale Moore out of Purdue. Injured a lot last year, came back this year, was in and out, but explosive guy. I just remember as a freshman, he was hell on wheels.
Yeah.
Showed out at the pro day. He's physical. He's fast. The game is kind of going to those explosive playmaking type guys, and I definitely see him. He's not saying he's TY, but he can be in the TY mode. I like safety from TCU, Mooring.
Mm-hmm.
I like him a lot. Big safety, can run, can cover. Not that he's a sleeper, but you don't hear his name a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
I like him a lot.
We're going to play defense, so.
Let me think of a third one. Just a sleeper that not a lot of people are talking about, the tackle from Texas.
Oh,
I haven't
Cosby.
heard his name a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be a solid. I think he'll be a solid tackle in the league. If not, he'll be another 10-year guy. But I don't hear his name a lot in the mocks and all the talking heads on ESPN. So I like him too.
And he was good. I think a lot of
Yeah.
OU fans who obviously I don't like Texas, but there's some OU fans that would just go crazy and
Right.
say wild stuff. But they're like, oh, he can't be that good. What we have 8 or 9 sacks on them this past year. And I
Not
think
on
part
him.
of it's not just on him, but part of that's their other offensive line. Also, part of that's on Ellinger because he never got rid of the ball. But
Right. Right.
so
Yeah.
good. Okay. Now your next three. What were we gonna say? Not sleepers. I can't remember. Oh, three busts. Three guys, maybe guys you think are overrated.
I would start with quarterbacks. Not that they're just in general. I think there too much value is placed on a quarterback. You can get it done without selling your soul for a quarterback, and it puts expectations on them that it's hard to live up to. You very rarely get a bunch of Paytons, where you're hyped, you live up to it, or stuff like that. So, the number one pick, you go into Jacksonville, new head coach. There's a reason they had the first pick in the draft.
Yeah.
So you got to temper your expectations with that guy. The BYU quarterback, he's going to another unstable situation. So not that it's not on them as players, because I think they're both really good players, but going to a quarterback needs a lot of stuff to go his way
For sure.
to get the best out of him. David Carr, when he was with the Texans, all the talent in the world, not a good, they were just starting out as an organization, and I think he got beat to death. Got to the point where he wasn't looking down the field. He was looking at the rush,
Yeah.
and it kind of messed him up. So like I said, I don't think it's them as players, but just those situations where quarterbacks are it's kind of iffy.
That makes sense.
So I would say those, just quarterbacks in general, because it's hard for a young quarterback to come in and with those expectations and actually fulfill them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I can't agree more with you. I think that the one quarterback that comes to memory, and it's painful for me to bring this up even, that did kind of do that was Andrew Luck. Um, and yeah, just what he did his first couple years was crazy.
You know, and it's the same thing. You know, we didn't do a good enough job of building up his offensive line, and you know, a lot of people got mad and, oh, how could you quit?
Shouldn't have.
Nah,
No.
he
Play with the last one with a kidney. Play with
yeah, yeah.
no.
And he had a lot of stuff, and to him, you know, his he wanted to go do other things. God bless him. You know, it's sucked for us, but good for him.
Yeah, I think people, us as Colts fans, were just like, we finally got the pieces, and then I know he was tired, and like I said, I completely understood it. I knew why he did it. I just was upset at one of your former bosses because I felt like we didn't do it at protecting him. So I will. I never blamed Byron. I'm just throwing that out there. I never blamed him, not once. No,
Thank you.
I knew he.
No.
I knew he.
Those decisions were made way above my pay grade.
Right. I
Those were
knew he
way
was
above my
trying.
pay grade.
He was trying. He was trying to tell them they didn't listen. Happens, but
Yeah, it does. You know.
last.
And another thing, you know, I just want to hit this real quick for your viewers. When you talk about draft stock and that doesn't really happen. You know, there's no falling and rising. Nah, we get in that room, we set the board, and the good teams, they kind of leave it. You know, the combine may break a stack up. So you got a stack of players. The combine will help you rank those players. But this flying up and down the board, that's a myth. In all of the draft rooms I've been, I've never seen guys just fly up and down the way it's depicted on TV. So that's a fallacy.
Yeah.
And it's also called a draft room, not a war room.
A draft room.
We are not fighting wars. We are drafting football players.
Right.
That's just a personal pet peeve. I hate that they call it that.
Yeah, that they call it the war room.
But yes, there is no fictional draft stock where guys are just rising and falling, and no, you can never keep track of all the rising and falling they think people do. Yeah. The media has no idea. It's really it's not crazy in the draft room. It's quiet. The TVs are on, you know. It's real quiet. Even when it gets around your pick, they'll ask you questions, you know, if they want to know character or what do you think. It's nothing crazy. You're watching it on TV. It gets to your pick. You kind of have an idea. You watch them come off the board, and you know the guys that you have in that range. You talk it through, and you look at your board and your needs, and do you go from there? It's not as crazy and chaotic as people think.
Yeah.
All the work happens long before you get to the weekend.
Of course. You know, the media likes to do those things. So
yeah,
it is. Hey, last thing I'll ask you before we get you out of here. No, it's been a little bit. Probably gotta get to bed, get up for work in the morning. What are your realistic expectations for Oklahoma football this year, going into the fall?
The fan in me thinks we'll go 12-0, 13-0, we'll win a Big 12, and then we should be in 1 or 2 seed and at least win a playoff game. But we're gonna have a loss somewhere. The last 4 or 5 years, there's always one. It's either Kansas State, Iowa State, TCU. Somebody always gets us. Hopefully this year it won't, like I say, with Rattler and the whole offense, you know, having a whole spring, whole training camp, it'll be a little bit different. They'll come out hotter this year, especially with all the weapons we got on offense. You know, young receivers are really talented. The backs are really talented. So Stogner's coming back, so we got a talented tight end.
Yeah.
Hopefully 12-0, 13-0, 12-1, and another big 6 in a row or 7.
7.
However many.
7. It would be 7.
Yeah. I do expect that. I expect 7 in a row.
Everybody think Texas gonna be. This not everybody. Let me. But Texas fans think Texas is gonna be the stuff. And I've tried to tell them. I said, look, I think Sarkisian is a really good offensive mind. Like I personally, I don't, I think Lincoln Riley will be able to run circles around him, but at the end of the day, yeah, he had a great team over at Alabama. He called a great game all year. I mean, especially in that championship game, obviously, but you don't always have a Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle over there. Like, yes, Texas has talented players over there, but their issue has been development, and you're not going to develop players in 1 year, no matter what scheme you put over there. And Sarkisian was just an offensive coordinator at Alabama. He has to be a head coach of Texas. There's a difference, a big difference between the
Yes.
two. And for whatever reason, some Texas fans are not getting that through their thick skulls. They think that it's just going to be the same thing as it was at Alabama. I'm like,
No.
nah.
It's about the Jimmys and Joes. That's what Barry Switzer always says. It's not X's and O's. It's Jimmys and Joes. So, I mean, it's OU Texas. You never know what's going to happen in that game. I am kind of rooting for their quarterback because, I grew up with Charles. I know Charles forever. So I am looking forward to Casey actually playing. I hope he does well. I hope he plays well against Oklahoma when we win.
Yeah, that's
But I am rooting for him because he's waited his turn. He's done stuff the right way. So I'm excited to see him finally get his shot this year.
I can't believe. I mean, if he's anything like what he was against, and I know it's Colorado, but if he's anything like that, I cannot believe that Sam played over him. He's being real.
We'll see. We'll revisit this discussion in like October.
Yeah, for sure. And then, okay, I got one more thing. I'm remiss if I didn't. So I said I personally probably will wait to. I will probably make an entire video on it at some point. But I am curious as to your initial thoughts on the ongoing investigation with Trajan Bridges and Seth McGowan.
I don't know a lot about it, so I can't really say. I don't know. What I read wasn't good, so I don't. I don't know. I have nothing on that one. I just know what I read, and like I said, what I read wasn't good.
I don't, and like I said, I'll dive into it later and probably another specific video once the football team or Riley decides what specifically they're going to do or if anything comes out of it. I just don't understand for Trajan how he gets in that situation. Like after already having lost 10 games, I just like it doesn't make sense to me how that could happen. Now I know Seth is a head case. Grace is best friends with his girlfriend.
Okay.
I won't say best friends, but they're close. They talk a lot. So I know Seth's a head case. But I don't know. I don't understand how you get in that position. Like it's for
It happens all the time, man. I don't know what it is or why. Being young and young guys mess up. Like I said, you just hope it's not true, but like what I read wasn't good.
Yeah. I guess we'll just have to see. We'll find out. Again, regardless, we're stacked at the wide receiver position and the running back room without them. Obviously, with them, you still love to have it, but without them, we're still stacked. So
can't never have enough talent. I mean, look at Alabama. They had all those receivers. One goes out, and then Devontae blows up.
Yep. So, I mean, we just got Mike Woods from Arkansas, and all the Hog fans mad about that one. But again, is what it is. Dennis Simmons doing what he does. So
another good coach at Oklahoma too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on, Byron. I appreciate you, love you. Thanks for helping me out and giving some of the viewers an inside look into the mind of a scout and just how you really picked and choose those guys and kind of scouted them out, whether they're at Oklahoma and what they might do in the league. I know I appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody appreciate your analysis as well.
I appreciate you calling me. Love you too. Proud of you. Man, it's just this sky's the limit. I can't wait to see where all you go. And don't forget the little people when you get to where you going.
We'll see how, I don't know. I'm trying to do a little bit of this thing. Like I tell the viewers, I'm an AD, so I don't always have the time. I try to.
Right.
In the summer, I'm hoping to, you know, create content a lot more so that I can have some stuff on the back burner when my fall ramps up or my winter ramps up, that I have some stuff in stock to just kind of plug and play. But yeah, so I'd like it to blow up a little bit. It'd be fun. That'd be kind of cool, kind of exciting. My last video went over 1,000 views, so that was cool.
Nice.
But
Good
yeah,
stuff.
that's the hope. Again, guys, thank you for joining us. Thanks for again allowing us to share our thoughts. And um, Byron, last thing we always do when I go off. You don't have to do the horns down if you don't want to. You're more welcome
No,
to.
I can't
I
do
have to do. It's just
I'm trying to get back in, so no, I can't do that. I can never
but
show up in Texas.
I do end it with a boomer, so you can obviously respond, and then we'll end it.
I
Uh,
can do that because I paid a lot of money in tuition.
True, that's true. You did. Guys, thank you again. Like I said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll put out another video hopefully on Friday. Don't forget to also follow me on Twitter at Indy_Sooner. Again, that's at Indy_Sooner on Twitter. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Boomer.
Sooner.
All right.